Hello and what is up, everybody? It's your host, Mr. Norris, the history teacher with the good hair, and welcome to a very special holiday episode of In Case You Missed It. Topic for tonight is, of course, the Christmas Truce of 1914. Now, all the information that I have for this video tonight, I researched using Smithsonian.com. So you can see the website right here and the little link. Check it out and read for yourself if you'd like to. Now, I am not going to go over the entire events of World War I because I'm just not going to do that, and you probably want to stay for like an hour-long video anyways. We're going to just cover the Christmas Truce of 1914. But very quickly, let me just lay out for you guys exactly why World War I was fought. Basically, the main causes were mania inside of Europe at that time, and you can see mania in the definitions right here on this screen. Alliances and militarism, and nationalism, and there's the countries showing lack of goodwill towards each other. Well, that was a powder keg that just needed a spark. And when terrorist organization member Gavrilo Princip of the Black Hand assassinated the Serbian heir to the throne, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, that was the spark that was needed to set off World War I. And you could argue that the actions of Gavrilo Princip caused World War I, the aftermath of World War I, and even led right into World War II. So, to quote the holiday movie classic Home Alone, Gavrilo Princip, "Look what you did, you little jerk." That's neither here nor there, nor the point of this video tonight. Once Franz Ferdinand was assassinated, sides were dug in, alliances were created, and the war was fought between the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance, as you see here on the screen. Now, for our story tonight, we're going to focus on December of 1914. We're about 6 months into the war, or about a half year into the war, and we're going to focus on the area of Europe of southern Belgium and northern France. Now, if you're familiar with World War I, it was an extremely bloody war, lasted about 4 years until 1918, and most of the war involved a method of warfare called trench warfare, where sides dug in trenches, and between them were just a couple of hundred yards of an area called no man's land. Basically, the fighting techniques of the time had not caught up to their weaponry, which had become extremely and alarmingly destructive. And even just a few months into the war in 1914, most of the troops on both sides were disillusioned with the bloodshed and the fighting that they had been seeing. They didn't think the war was going to last very long, only a couple of months, and they were already sick of it and the dying and the bloodshed, as I've stated before. So let's fast forward to Christmas Eve, 1914. Now in southern Belgium and northern France, across a couple mile stretch of lines of trench warfare, there are stories of a Christmas truce. And how it began was on Christmas Eve at about 8:30, where it's believed German soldiers on their sides of the trenches started singing Christmas carols. They were singing Christmas hits such as The First Noel and Silent Night, and with what little English they could actually speak, they were wishing a happy Christmas, a Merry Christmas to the English soldiers across no man's land on the other side of the battlefield. And English soldiers in whatever English, well, they could speak English, take that back, or German they could speak, they were wishing a happy and a Merry Christmas to the enemy on the other side. There are accounts from soldiers that while they were doing this and kind of peeking their head over the trenches and wishing a Merry Christmas, they still had their hands firmly on their rifles because they weren't sure if this was a ruse, if this was a trick in order to try to draw them out. And they sang Christmas carols with each other the entire night, up and down the line. Now, the next morning, the Germans had placed Christmas trees out on no man's land for the English as a sign of goodwill. And the Germans began calling to the English to come out and to meet them, saying, Merry Christmas, English soldiers, come out, come get your gifts. And slowly but surely, in some sections of that line, English soldiers popped their heads out of the trenches, made sure that it was safe, and met these German soldiers in no man's land, where they exchanged gifts, talked with each other, shared food, and for some short time put aside the gross inhumanity that was going on at that time. Now, this didn't go on all along the Western Front. It wasn't on the entire line of trenches in northern France and in southern Belgium, but in this area of Flanders specifically, this is where it is believed to happen. And not all sides really agreed with the truce. There were German commanders and English commanders that were upset about hearing about soldiers kind of taking a few days off from fighting. The truce is said to have lasted from Christmas through the New Year's into early January. And it had some pretty amazing events take place. It's rumored that the Germans actually challenged the British to a soccer game. And they actually played a contingency of Scottish troops from the British Army in that soccer game. And they played a legitimate match in no man's land, filled up the craters, and it said that the Germans won that match 3-2. And that inspired actually other soccer or football in Europe games to go on all along the Western Front for a couple of days. Now, this wasn't reported until early January in newspapers that this Christmas truce had happened. And once it became widespread news, it was received in one of two ways. There were people who looked at it as a nice, touching story in the middle of such a tragedy, a human tragedy going on, World War I. And there were higher-ups on both sides from the British and the Germans, as I had described before, that didn't like that this was going on because it was almost soldiers disobeying orders. And they put in provisions to make sure that a truce like this, on this scale, would really not happen again. If you don't believe me that this took place and that it was something special in history and that it's worthwhile talking about, well, don't take my word for it. Hear from the soldiers themselves. English Private Oswald Tilley described hundreds of men out shaking hands in the middle of no man's land. A German soldier describes chocolates, drinks, gifts, cigarettes being exchanged between yesterday's enemies. In January, nearing the conclusion of the truce, Englishman George Eads might have put it best. Today we have peace. Tomorrow you fight for your country. I fight for mine. Good luck. So the question lies, so what? Why am I telling you this story of the Christmas truce? Will knowing this story help us better understand the events of World War I? A little bit. Will we understand the entire war? No. But I think this story is especially worthwhile during the holiday season. In the middle of an absolute human tragedy where the war lasted for 4 years and 25 million lives were lost, sworn enemies on both sides decided that around the holiday season to put all that aside and to accept brotherhood, goodwill, and friendship for a few hours, a few days. In the worst of times, these men didn't actually dislike each other or had huge differences. They were just following orders of people above them that told them they were supposed to fight. So again, how does this translate to today? And I usually don't do this with my videos. Let's be real, it's been a tough year and people are pretty divided out there. But I think, and this is why we learn history, we can take lessons from the past and apply it to the future. If those men fighting in World War I, God bless you, if those men fighting in World War I could put aside that animosity for a short time, seek common ground, literally and figuratively, meet each other in no man's land where nobody was willing to venture before that, and share some goodwill and friendship and holiday cheer and joy, then it's possible even today, even in these times, even in our current climate and landscape as it is. We can take lessons from the past and apply it to today. No matter what you celebrate watching this video, this story can show us a crucial lesson. Even when it seems impossible to find common ground and humanity with a sworn enemy or the other side, it can be done if we try to. No matter who's watching this, I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. Enjoy your time with your families. Try to seek common ground with people different from you. Spread goodwill and cheer. And have a happy holiday season. Hope you enjoyed the video.